What's up, everyone? I'm here. We got a very big guest today in size and everything else. This is the man right here. We got Jimmy Bechter. Jimmy, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. If you guys don't know about Jimmy, he's a recent transfer to Northfield Mount Hermon in Mass, from great wrestling state of Ohio. So we're going to talk about that, get a different perspective on the sport we all love. It's going to be awesome. So, dude, growing up in Ohio, was wrestling like all around you, or were you born into a wrestling heavy family?
Yeah, my dad wrestled in high school. So when I was about 5 years old in first grade, I first started. So, I've been wrestling since a very young age, So
And was it something like was it really popular in you're from Dayton, right? Dayton,
yeah,
Ohio. Was
yeah.
it popular in Dayton?
Yeah, it's popular in the whole state. So and especially in my town, like it's a pretty good wrestling city. So yeah.
So did you have like here in New England and stuff, it's like most kids in your elementary school class would play, football or baseball or soccer or something. Was wrestling kind of one of those sports in Ohio when you were growing up?
Yeah, wrestling's really big in Ohio. So even from like a young age, there's always going to be those elite kids. And it's a very elite sport in Ohio. So
Awesome. And so I imagine there were probably a lot of different opportunities, a lot of clubs you could go to. Like, what was the club scene like? Were there a lot of different rivalries going on? What club were you a part of?
um, I started going to Prodigy when I was probably in about third, fourth grade. That's the best club in my area. So I started off at Prodigy, and then I did like my home team. Like I just wrestled with them in the off season, like Carol and stuff. So yeah, there's not really that many rivalries in the club scene. Like I know here in New England, there's some big club rivalries, but it's not
I
really.
don't feel like it's not rivalries. Maybe that wasn't the best word to say, but it's a they love to beat each other.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. Nothing really like that in Ohio that I know of.
Yeah, maybe you were just never exposed to it. So, did you like wrestling at first? Like, was it for you from the start?
Yeah, from the start. Yeah, I remember my first tournament. I got second place, and I mean that kind of fueled my drive. I always, winning's always great. You always want to win.
And looking at that silver medal, you're probably like, I never want to see this again.
Never want to see that color red again. Yeah, always blue.
Yep.
And then from there on out, I think I only lost like one more match my first year, and then after that, like my second year, I went undefeated. Third year, one loss. Fourth year, just kept on improving. And as I kept winning, I kept on liking it more. Because the more you win, the more you like it. So
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely some sort of correlation there.
hmm
So, when you got to middle school, was there like middle school wrestling teams at all there?
yeah, there was. So my high school team has like a youth team, right? Like their middle school team.
Like
So,
basically their feeder.
yeah,
Okay.
their program, right? So I was a part of that team, and that's when my love for wrestling really kicked in. I feel like,
Mhm.
like my seventh grade year, that was probably the season I had the most losses in. It was COVID year, so I mean I didn't really do good at my districts or like my junior high districts, and I'm like, man, like I got to switch something up. Like all these kids are big, they're bad.
What weight were you at that time, seventh grade?
Seventh grade, man.
180, something like
I was
that?
160. Yeah, I was 160.
Oh, okay.
And then eighth grade year bumped up to 172, and that was the year that I feel like I really fell in love with the sport. I started doing freestyle and greco in the off season.
Mm.
You know, beat some good kids. I mean, good eighth grade kids. So
Yeah. And you said that was when you started training freestyle and Greco. What's your favorite style of wrestling to do, to compete in? Or how about to compete in and then to practice if they're different?
so to compete in, I've had the most success in greco. Like this past year, I made it to the semis at Fargo.
hmm
So I feel like to compete, probably greco. To
Yeah.
practice, I love freestyle. I love freestyle.
Yeah, freestyles always seemed really fun to me. Just so smooth, the takedowns, the shooting.
Very, very flowy.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also like folk style because you can scramble a lot more compared to freestyle. You don't have to worry about the exposure and stuff, and you can just
Yeah.
kind of flow. Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to every style, but greco it's just not that much fun to practice.
Yeah, I bet just you're basically just what pummeling for an
Pummeling,
hour.
arm spins, arm throws, lat drops, suplexes. It's fun at times, but not as fun as freestyle, folk style.
Probably not that much fun getting thrown.
Yeah, especially by a big partner.
Yeah, by heavyweights. Yeah. So when you were in Ohio, what was like? Did you face any obstacles? Like encounter any injuries? You mentioned you suffered a lot of losses your seventh grade year.
Yeah, seventh grade year and freshman year. Freshman year is a big transition from eighth grade to high school. I thought I was gonna be the man. But it's not like that. I mean, freshman year was a real eye opener. My freshman year football season, I broke my hand. I think week 3. So I was out for about 10 weeks, probably about 12 weeks total until I could actually get on the mat and wrestle. So that was a minor setback that set me back because I couldn't lift, I couldn't do anything with a broken hand. So it's tough. You kind of just sit on your butt and.
How did you manage to to stay focused, and kind of not, because some kids, they get injured like that, they lose their drive, even after their injury, they're not the same. And you clearly bounced back from that injury pretty well. So like, do you think you were just thinking about the end and coming back?
Yeah, I mean, you had something to prove. It's my freshman year. It's kind of your first year. You get to prove yourself. So, I mean, my goal was to prove myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, how was it going into the high school scene in Ohio? What is the culture like in Ohio? Like, do people show up to your wrestling meets?
No, not in my duels. I mean, I wish you see like the Blair duels and the Detroit Catholic duels. They're getting wild and stuff. And I mean, my team, we didn't even have a student section. We had like 30 parents in the stands.
Yeah, dude, that was me at Norwalk, man, with my team.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping in Ohio they treat it like football Friday Night Lights, but
yeah, some teams do, but just not my team.
Gotcha. And how was the Dayton Carroll team? Were you guys like a top team in your conference, or?
No, I mean in our league, yeah.
Gotcha.
But in our sectional, we weren't really anything special.
Well, the thing is, also a top team in an Ohio league probably translates to a decent team, in a New England state or something, depending on the state. So it's all about perspective as well, because Ohio is just different ballgame. That's why I'm excited to be talking to you about this.
Yeah, I mean my team, we weren't bad. We had some good wrestlers, but I mean nothing compared to like your St. Ed's or your St. Paris Graham or anything like that. Yeah, we were a tough team. I mean without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I got to give them credit. Great coach.
Did you ever face St. Ed's or St. Paris Graham or any wrestlers from there?
Yeah. So my sophomore year, our sectional, so in Ohio it goes sectional, district, state. So our sectional is always at Graham. So like that's our first round. So I think in the semis this year, I had a St. Paris Graham kid, and he was pretty tough. I majored him, and yeah, that was the only time I wrestled somebody from Graham. That's my first time.
And at the end of your freshman year, how far did you get in the off season grind? I mean, not the off season, the postseason grind.
I made it out of sectionals. I got third at my sectionals.
And how many qualifies? Like top 6?
Top 4. Top 4 from your sectional. And then I went to districts and probably had the worst tournament of my life. It was horrible. It was the only tournament my whole life I haven't placed at.
Really?
It's freshman year districts. Yep.
Pretty important one too. Well, I mean, there's gonna be more important ones, but
But that bracket there was stacked at my district.
That was 220?
Yeah. I had Carter Neves. He's at Blair now. Max Shulaw, who's number 4 in the nation right now.
Yeah.
At 220. So I mean that's 2 highly ranked studs. So
yeah.
As a little freshman, it's hard to go far on that. But I used it as motivation for my sophomore year. So
and what else were you like after your postseason? What were you doing in the off season that you think gave you that boost where you really jumped out your sophomore year?
I think mat time and lifting. Spent a lot of time with freestyle and greco and traveling to different clubs and finding different partners and just really just honing in on the stuff I needed to work on. So yeah. So and also lifting a lot because I was kind of, I don't want to say undersized, but I was underdeveloped as a 220 as a freshman 220. So I think the big boost was lifting and just getting on the mat and getting as much mat time as I can, and a lot of off-season matches too.
I got to ask, when you were like going into high school, kind of leads into, just NMH and stuff. But was it always going to be Dayton Carroll that you were going to high school at, like that you were thinking in 8th grade?
Yeah. From 4th to 8th grade, I've been wrestling for Dayton Carroll's like youth team. So their coaches really coached me up, really strengthened my love for the sport. So yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome, dude. It's awesome that, you had that great relationship that you basically wrestled for not the high school, but just the town's program.
Right.
Your whole life basically.
Yeah.
So the off season, going into your sophomore year, what was the game plan? What were the goals you were setting for yourself after, you said you ended your scholastic season wrestling the worst tournament of your life?
Yeah, I mean, it was rough, but my next goal was Fargo, My goal really was to just make it to Fargo. I mean, you see it as a little kid, you're like, man, it looks sweet, Yeah. So I saw that and I was like, all right, let's qualify this year and see what happens, So I qualified at Central Regionals and I'm like, all right, it's a reality now, I'm going. So I went out to Fargo and really I locked in that whole summer. The whole summer locked in, tuned in on everything I needed to tune in on. Worked my butt off, practiced, lift, ran, did whatever I needed to, And then got to Fargo, made it to the semis in freestyle, did a little semi slide in freestyle. So, that first All-American, that feeling, something that you can never recreate. It's like, man, I'm up there. I'm up there with some of the best in the nation. So I came back the next day for greco and lost in the quarters in greco to a very tough kid. I'm like, it's all good. Got to recollect and won my next match and bounce back and ended up getting 7th. So 2-time All-American for a first.
Hey, going into sophomore season, that's not bad at all.
Right. So I couldn't complain. I was proud of myself, but I knew that there was a lot to improve on and a lot of work on. So when I got back, it's football season, but
yeah,
still time.
And I want to ask this question just because I feel like I know the answer. But do you think wrestling and football have helped with each other?
I think wrestling helped more with football than football helped with wrestling.
Yeah.
Because wrestling, you get your nice athletic stance, athletic form. It's perfect for tackling. Your blast doubles, your perfect tackle. So.
What position are you in football?
I was a center and nose guard at my old school. So. In the trenches, so.
Yeah, getting smacked not getting smacked, but you're grinding every single play.
Yeah, I feel like football season though was I don't know, it was a break in my wrestling season. I felt like I digressed during football season.
Really?
Yeah, because being a lineman, you gotta put on some weight. You're not really
toll on the body.
Yeah, a big toll on the body too. Yeah, so I got a lot heavier going into my sophomore season. You lose your conditioning, your wrestling conditioning, because football conditioning and wrestling conditioning are 2 different things, so it just takes time to get back into it. So I enjoyed playing football, but I don't feel like it helped with wrestling much.
Yeah, because like you said, wrestling on the other hand helps with football. That's why they always try to get these football players into wrestling.
Right.
So going into your sophomore year, you just placed at Fargo. Were you on the map in Ohio? Did people know about you?
I think I was.
Ranked on any Ohio Schwartz reports?
Yeah, so there's one in Ohio. It's called Borough Fan, and they were sleeping on me. They had me at like 20 going into my sophomore year.
Did they do like a top 25 or something?
Yeah, I was at number 20. So I was like, man, I was like, they don't know me then,
Yeah.
don't know what I'm capable of. And as the year goes on and I start winning matches, start beating these highly ranked kids, it start going up. 15, top 10, top 8, and then that's when your name starts getting out there. As soon as you break that top 8, and going into state, I only had 2 losses. I was a sectional champ, district champ. So, going into state, I had 2 losses. One was to a really highly ranked 190 who bumped up to 220.
Gotcha.
He's an Air Force commit, so he's pretty tough.
Yeah.
My other one was to a kid from a very good wrestling school in Cincinnati, Ohio, that I caught kind of early in the season. So, it's all good.
Yeah. Dude, so, did you ever feel like pressure or a target on your back then? If, you were checking back on this website every week and there's a new, better number next to your name,
Not really, I kind of, I thought anything but 1 was disrespectful,
Yeah, I like it.
I was like, still kind of underestimating me, but you got to stay humble, got to be thankful for what they gave you. So, I didn't really think of it as stressful or anything. I just thought of it as, kind of, it's proof of your work, how much you work you put in and finally shows,
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, towards the end of your sophomore year, were you in contact with people from NMH yet?
From NMH? No, not at all.
So when did you get into contact with them?
It was at Cadet Duels.
Wow.
Yeah, which is it's midsummer, so very late. And that's my first contact.
Who was it that you first spoke to?
It was Bates. It was Coach Bates. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. He hit me up on Instagram. I went 18-0 at Cadet Duels, and he was like, "This kid must be pretty tough," and sent me a DM, and that's when it all started.
Awesome. And were there any other schools reaching out to you too?
No, not really. At Fargo, one of our Fargo coaches was coach at Spire Academy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he was. I was there. There wasn't really any interest, but because it was too late, So
yeah.
NMH was really my only school, or the only school that had interest in me. So.
And did you have any first emotion or first thoughts going oh, moving to Massachusetts? Have you ever been to the New England area before?
No, my visit out here was the first time I ever visited out here in New England. Yeah, it was interesting though, because as a little kid, you see these Blair, Sam, all these big prep schools, and you're like, man, I want to go there one day. I remember sitting down on the computer with my dad, watching Blair duels and stuff like that, and looking it up and seeing what it's like. Man, that's something I want to do one day. And dreams to reality. So you got to be thankful for every opportunity you get. So.
Yeah, dude, New England prep school is definitely on the rise. I think both CFA and NMH were, I think, top 10 last year in national preps, which is, pretty insane.
Yeah.
So, and NMH, they had you, Ayala, Humphrey, some great additions. So.
Yeah, and SIO too. SIO was a great pickup.
Yeah. Oh my God, I interviewed him. I can't even believe why I didn't mention him. But so, how have you been adapting to the, change, new life? You're dorming, it's a little like college.
Yeah.
New area. You like New England?
Yeah, I love it so far. It's great. Everything's out here. There's really no distractions out here. Like the way that I put it is, I'm out here for a reason. I'm out here to get better and be the best person I can, best wrestler, best student, best athlete. So.
Gotcha.
And they supply you with everything you need, you got food right up the hill, you got your bed, you got the wrestling room 2 minutes away, weight room 2 minutes away, so it's perfect. It's everything you could ever need in just a tight little knit circle.
Yeah, and if you're gonna be going to college and wrestling there, you might as well get used to that type of lifestyle now.
Right.
And speaking of colleges, it's a little too early, you're a little young still, but what would be your dream college? From, Penn State, Iowa.
Cornell. I really enjoy Cornell wrestling.
Have you ever visited Cornell or anything?
I did in the summer. Yeah.
Nice.
I visited with Coach Kellen Russell. He took me in and showed me a nice little tour, gave me a nice tour. Or no, it was Donnie Vincent, Coach Vincent, took me on a tour. It was sweet. It was amazing.
Cool, dude.
Our team was practicing and stuff, so Yanni was in there, working out. It was sweet. It was crazy.
So, prep season starting up very soon.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for you and, Northfield Mount Hermon?
Man, I think we're on the come up this year, this team, I think we're ready to turn some heads, I mean, last year, losing to Green Farms, we use it as motivation, It's all of our losses we got last year is, motivation for this year,
Definitely.
I think we're ready to turn some heads.
Yeah.
Not underestimate us, but we're working just as hard. We're grinding.
It's hard for anyone to underestimate you guys at this point,
Yeah. But I think we're still kind of like that new team on the come up, so we still have to prove ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And before the season starts, we got the New England Showcase coming up. You mentioned it was going to be your first appearance at heavyweight. You excited for that?
I am excited. This Friday, yeah, or this Saturday, yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
It's going to be a fun time. I'm thrilled you're registered, ready to battle, ready to, see some New England heavyweights.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Can't wait.
Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No. You got anything else? Any other questions?
Does it for me.
All right, yeah, you got everything you need?
Yeah, awesome, Jimmy. It was great talking to you, man.